What's your lemonade stand story?
And he was like, YouTube's going to be the next big thing, Devin. Like, you need to get on that. You need to get on it early. And I'm like,
And all of us, we all go through our own trials, our own level of stuff.
Sure hope this works out. Otherwise, this will be a huge waste of time.
I mean, what else is it all about other than just taking risks and continuing to try and grow and hopefully get better and better at making things?
Most of the billion-dollar brands you've seen were started by people that were just solving a problem for themselves.
We're telling lemonade stand stories from some of the world's top creators, makers, and go-getters.
We're rolling right now.
Hey,
We're having fun. We're rolling.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this podcast today is sponsored by Yalla, a task management and team collaboration software that we use at Lemonade Stand. We use Yalla to keep all of our team members organized, wherever they are. In fact, we used it to plan and organize this podcast. Visit yalla.team, that's YALLA.team, and try it for free. We also have a special offer for all listeners of this podcast. Use promo code LEMONADE and get a lifetime 25% off if you upgrade.
What is going on, guys? This is Charan Prabhakar with the Lemonade Stand Stories podcast. And today we've got a repeat visitor. This is very exciting because I don't think we've had a single guest come back on after the first round. But you know what? Chad survived the first round and he's back sporting a very beautiful beer that we've been talking about for quite some time now. And you know what? It suits you well, man. It suits you well.
Thank you.
How you doing, dude? How's life in Southern California?
Life is great. It's been a great beach weather week, so I have no complaints. We had a great holiday weekend yesterday surfing, and I'm happy to be here on a second date on your podcast.
Dude, I think it's going well. I think this is gonna go all the way. It's gonna be great.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You know, it's so fun, dude. Like when we were talking the first time around, we were discussing this. This must have been when COVID just kind of started, or maybe the beginning of 2021. But we were talking a little bit about, because you work in investments and all those things, and then you said that the whole world shifted when COVID had hit, and no one really knew what to do. And you were like working a lot with the youth and creating like after school programs and things like that for them to like be a part of, right? Are you still kind of involved in some of that stuff?
Yeah. So you're referring to my sports complex business. Yeah. So since we got shut down in California, we couldn't host any of our tournaments or trainings or practices. It's a huge gym, like 9 courts.
Yeah.
5,000 square feet of office space, or a little restaurant cafe. And we shifted to create basically like an online tutoring center for kids to come and play sports and do their homework while their parents were at work. So
that's right.
I'm still very involved, and I'm glad to say that we're back hosting a lot of sporting events. So it's pretty cool to see when the gym is packed and kids are having fun. So.
Dude, that's one of the things that I love talking to you about is the fact that you just love like working with the youth. You love relating to them. You like empowering them, helping them to like have different mindsets. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that today in today's podcast, but because your focus in life has been so much about mindsets around money, you've written books about it, stress-free money, having like the 7 habits you were saying that helps you to have a financially independent lifestyle.
Right.
But then the other one, which was really fascinating to me, especially because I never really got this training as a kid, was Smart Not Spoiled, which is your second book. And you were talking about how to talk to kids about money and how to help them have like a healthy mindset around money and what money can do, what it can't do, that type of thing. What was your inspiration, man, for creating that book?
Well, as a father of 5, I've always talked about what we could do differently, just because the schools don't really teach kids about money or entrepreneurship. But I feel like kids graduate high school and they're very unprepared for a lot of big money decisions.
Yeah.
You're throwing credit card stuff and student loan things, and right out the gate, you turn 18, you're getting solicited for big money decisions, and we're just not prepared for that. And I remember we were leaving Disneyland one day, and taking 5 kids to Disneyland it's expensive, right? It's a big day. So at the very end of the day, and I told this story in the book, we're walking out towards the tram to go back to the parking lot, and one of my little ones says, of course, the person with the $15 Mickey Mouse neon balloons walks up and says, "Hey, you guys want a balloon?"
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, let's get balloons for everyone. And I was like, oh my gosh, so there's another $150 for balloons. And
yes,
I said, you know what, we don't need to get balloons right now. Like we've had a great day. We're heading home and we've spent enough money already today and it's been a great day. And she was just like, well, why don't you just go over to the money machine box over there and get some more? And it was like, oh,
okay.
She doesn't get this. I need to do better, obviously, teaching my little kids about money. And just as time has gone on, I've had so many different clients or friends or just people in the public ask what I do differently to teach my kids about money. And instead of spending an hour or 2 hours every single time I get asked that question, I was like, I just have to put these things in writing. I just need to get all of the best things that we've done and thought of and heard from friends, from clients, from my own experience, and just make it into a book. And so that was the genesis of the book, Smart Not Spoiled. It's really about the 7 money mindsets and skills that kids need to master before they leave the nest. And so, although I've had a lot of college kids read it and say that they loved it, so it's not like it's only for little kids or high schoolers, but it's really to try to make money a more comfortable conversation in your family, no matter what stage you're at. I've had a lot of parents, if you look at the Amazon reviews, talk about how they learned a lot as well. So,
it's interesting because I never learned that education as a kid. I never did. In fact, I never got a job where I got actual money for the job till I was probably, like maybe between my junior, senior year, or even after high school. It was probably after high school, actually, right? So that's a job that I got where I was getting paid $7 an hour, right? And that's the only time I had my own money coming in and everything like that. So it was a shock, and it was interesting because I went to BYU, and I think you did as well. But
I did, yeah.
And I had a financial class, and we were talking about like compound interest, and we were talking about like just how you can make your money work for you and stuff. And I remember being like just blown away. And I'm an adult. I'm like, wait, what? What is this? What do you mean making your money work for you? And it was such an interesting concept. And then the idea of like being able to, because here's another thing that I've found is like, what people want is like financial freedom, right? Like that idea of like being able to like kind of do what you want because you have the money to support it, right? But a lot of times people also trade their time for money. So that might make a lot of money, but they don't have any time to enjoy that money because they're always working, right?
I've got a whole chapter on that, learning to earn.
Okay,
learning to earn.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that because I feel like right now, there's a lot of people I know that are struggling with money. Either they haven't made enough or they haven't found the right job that's going to provide them enough, or they don't know how to actually build upon the money that they have. And so they're constantly, living hand to mouth, which is what I did a lot as an actor, or, or that type of thing where you're always like trading your time for money. So what would you suggest to someone who's in that situation?
First of all, I think everyone is somewhat stuck. They're stuck. They're not sure what to do with the money they do earn, or they're not earning or enjoying the way that they're earning money. And so one thing we talk about is your kids need to find something that they have, basically a trifecta, like it's a triangle of success. And we say you want 3 things. Number 1, it's something you're good at. Number 2, it's something you really enjoy. And number 3, it's something that people are willing to pay you for. If you have 2 of the 3, it doesn't work. Like if I love art and people are willing to pay for art and I'm terrible at art, it doesn't work. Right? If I'm really good at accounting and taxes and people are willing to pay me to do accounting and taxes, but I hate it, like that doesn't work. That's not fulfillment. That's not success. So we're talking about helping your kids from a young age understand I can earn money doing things that I like to do. I'll give examples for my own kids. So 4 of my 5 have their own businesses. The 5th he's only 7. He'll get there, but
he's gonna get there.
He'll get there. My oldest, she's an Air Jordan sponsored basketball player. She's a basketball star. Yeah, which is pretty cool. She'll train. She'll do a Saturday morning training for an hour and a half. A bunch of kids in the community will come and she'll do it in our backyard on the basketball court. And she'll make $150 in an hour and a half. Okay, compare that to if she's going to the fast food hamburger spot and she's making $12 an hour, $13 an hour. It's not the same, right? But she likes it. She's really good at it, and people pay for it. My second son, he's good with his hands. He's pretty artistic. He actually spray paints curbs. He does addresses for curbs. So he'll go door to door and he'll make, I think, 60 to 80 bucks an hour doing something he likes. He's really good at it. He wants to he'll add logos or an American flag or a saying just for people to, upcharge for that. My third child is a son, and he loves animals, and we don't have any pets.
Yeah.
So he has a dog walking business.
Love it.
He loves dogs. He loves taking them on walks, and, getting to know them, becoming their friends. And so he's got a neighborhood dog walking business. My fourth, I can't say that she loves it, but she does a trash can business in our neighborhood. So she brings in the trash cans. She writes her little invoices. She's only 9 years old. But the point is teaching them that they can go out and create a way to earn money. And like my kids, when they have a birthday party from a friend, they're actually going to go pay for the presents themselves. I'm not buying their presents for their parties. When they're going to the movies, even if they're 12 years old, they're going to the movies with a big group of friends, they're paying their way in. We can build a lot of confidence and empower young people if we give them the necessary tools to teach them to earn money, to learn to earn money, instead of, getting annoyed and bugged every time, every time they ask for money.
Right.
Mom and dad, can I have some money? I want to go do this. It gets annoying. They don't feel great. We don't feel great. How much better would it be to say, hey, here's a bunch of ways that you can earn money. Let me help you. And then you get to be in charge of how you use that money, how much you save, how much you share and donate, and how much you spend. So those are just some of the concepts that I'm teaching in that book.
Dude, I really, really like that. It's interesting because so we are immigrants. We moved to the US when I was about 6 years old, right? From India. And when I moved here, we hardly had any money. Like my family was just barely getting by, and my dad was going to school. And as a kid, of course, like any kid, I love toys, right? And so when we would go to the toy section of the store, I love the first place I'd run to, and I would just start fantasizing about this Hot Wheels car or this cool transformer, that type of thing, And I'd always bug my parents to get me them, you know.
Yep.
And seldomly they would, but they would buy me a toy or something like that. And I was just so thrilled, and for hours I was totally in my own world, living my own life, right? But what was interesting was there would also be many times when they would say no, and I would get so bummed and stuff because I never understood the concept. Hey, I can earn my own money and buy the toy. I just never knew that was an option.
You felt dependent on them saying yes.
Yes, I felt completely bummed. In fact, it's so funny because there's still a toy I remember when I was a kid that I'm like, oh my gosh, if only I got that toy, But what's funny is my brother did the same thing I did as he was growing up. He wanted the toys. And they would say no. And his tactic was he would cry so hard in the store and make a huge scene. And as a result of it, my parents, out of embarrassment, would buy the toy. Not sometimes, all the time.
Lot.
And I remember telling my parents, I'm like, you guys, you are spoiling him. You're spoiling him. You're teaching him that crying is going to get him what he wants. And deep down, I was sad that I never employed that technique. I'm like, what the crap? Why didn't I cry? I should have cried more. But I knew for sure that they were teaching him and reinforcing that crying and whining will get him what he wants.
Right.
Well, fast forward, and his life has turned into that. He had cried and whined his way through life. And he ended up having a severe drug problem, all this stuff, because he was always having that mindset, right?
Yep.
Well, then what happened was he finally cleared up his life, and he's now clean. He's on top of the world. He's doing some really, really great things. And he told me straight up, he's like, dude, I knew what I was doing. I knew that crying and whining was going to get what I wanted. And it's not like I had the dignity to not do that, but I'm like, I was getting what I wanted, right? I got my goals, right? So I think it's really interesting because what you're doing is you're actually helping kids from an early age and getting empowered so that they're able to do it on their own. And that's really, really powerful.
I think the statistic is that kids here know 200,000 times before they turn 18. And then what does that do to a young mind to hear no, 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 no all the time? So I would rather say yes. To say yes, you can get that toy or get that scooter or get that whatever. And here's how you can go figure out how to earn it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to be here to mentor and to guide you, but I'm not doing it for you because I want you to actually grow into an independent and financially thoughtful young adult. And so that's the approach that I've been taking with my kids, and that's what we're trying to teach, which leads us into the company that I co-founded that's going to be live soon for people. That's called Gravy Stack.
Yes, tell us about that for a second.
Yeah, so Gravy Stack is really a way for you to future-proof your kids and to really protect them against that dependent kind of socialism attitude that is so prevalent these days, which is everyone owes me something, I'm entitled to everything.
Yeah.
And it's really empowering them to have fun while they learn about money and become responsible at a very young age. So it is a debit card for kids, but it's actually with a game. So it's an app that allows kids to play games and compete while learning about financial literacy, while building a resume of expertise on the skills that they've learned, such as investing. There's games and levels on investing, on budgeting, spending, saving, borrowing, charitable giving, entrepreneurship, like a lot of cool things that they'll be able to get certified in that they can use on their resume for college applications, while at the same time earning real money. So it's going to be a way for parents and kids to really have this conversation about money where the kids are, which is on the screen. So much more productive use of their screen time, and we're really excited about it.
Dude, that is an amazing use of screen time because, you know, kids are always playing games anyway. Right. They're always kind of competing and having fun and stuff. So it's like, hey, if they're already doing that, you might as well teach them some really important skills down the road. So let me ask you this. What is it about it that helps kids gain confidence? Because everything that you were talking about your own kids having their own independent businesses and making a little bit of money and all that stuff requires them to step out of their own bubble, right? Correct. Requires them to go out. Like for your son to have that spray paint business, he had to go and talk to people. Door to door, strangers. And clients.
Yeah, he was nervous the first day. Totally. And I was like, look, it doesn't matter if they say no, but you can get better at showing them why they should say yes. Like I said, take a picture of their faded address and then show them a picture of one that you just painted and say, here's what yours looks like. And then here's one down the street that I just did. And, you know, for $20, I can take care of it right now. And is there any other cool logo or something symbol that you'd like on the side of the number? And I said, you'll get better as you just keep practicing. And he was a little nervous, but I said, don't come back until you made like $100. Yeah. So good luck. And so he went out and he came home and he's like, Dad, it was so awesome. And he's not an extrovert at all. He's not a sales type of kid. And I was like, why was it awesome? And he's like, because I wanted to keep getting better. And then it felt so cool for them to come outside and see how good it looked because I was really careful with the paint and did a good job. And then they would often give me a tip. And he's like, it was really cool, Dad. So that kind of confidence.
Fantastic.
If I just hand him $100, you know, for the weekend, that's not going to build the skills and the traits and the confidence. It's not going to build that for him at all.
Yeah. No, you know what? It's interesting. You know, I'm an actor. I love working in that profession. But one of the reasons why I love working in this profession was because I was rejected a lot. And I got to learn what it felt like to be rejected a lot. I've gotten rejected thousands and thousands
I've seen you act. I don't think you should ever get rejected. But that's...
No, I appreciate that. But dude, that's what I'm saying. It's like auditions, you know, you go on tons and tons of auditions. Totally. And you get told no all the time. Maybe not even because of your performance. Maybe it's just because it's you're not the right fit or the right part or whatever it is, right? And sometimes you just have lousy auditions and you're like, yeah, you did terrible and we don't want you. You know, and I have. But the cool thing with it is there is a power that comes where after being rejected so often, you're not fazed by it. Doesn't diminish your worth.
Yeah, you don't take it personally anymore.
Yeah, you don't take it personal anymore. How do you help kids not take things personally? Do you know what I mean? Because especially when you're trying to be an entrepreneur and you're trying to make money and all those things, you're asking kids to go out on a limb a little bit, right? You're not playing it in the safe zone.
Yeah.
And so how do you help them to overcome that fear of like being rejected and like not taking things personally?
Yeah, with my own kids, I've just talked to them about no one gets accepted 100% of the time when they're pitching something. Even when you talk about my kids play sports, so I'll say like for a basketball player, if they make 50% of their shots, they're a good shooter. A baseball player, 35% of the time they're at bat, they get a hit, they're a great hitter. So you can't go out there and expect to have 100% acceptance on anything that you do.
Yeah.
And the goal is really just to keep improving. So I think it's good for them to hear no. It's good for them to get rejected. It's good for them to build that inner strength that says, my value and self-esteem doesn't come from what other people say. And sometimes I'll say it's not the right time. So you may come back a year later and that person is now ready. So that's a good business lesson anyways.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. I'm super excited for kids and families and stuff to read. Well, your second book seems amazing. Smart Not Spoiled is awesome. And I can't wait for people to get connected with Gravy Stack once it's live. Now, the plan is for it to go live the end of the year, possibly, or next year.
Yeah, Gravy Stack, we hope end of 2022. We're going to do some beta testing on the first 5,000 families. So it's pretty slick, though. I mean, I think the cost will be around $4.99 a month for an entire family up to 5 kids. And that comes with debit cards. So it's going to be a lot of learning, a lot of stuff put into this experience for kids, as well as a debit card. We're going to be able to basically give parents a chance to say, here are, let's say, 50 different jobs. We call them gigs. You might call them chores, but we don't want to call them chores, but like home gigs. Home gigs, like, hey, if you want to do something extra and earn a little extra money, here's how often this can be completed, and here's how much I'll pay you for it. If you want to clean the garage, it's going to be $15 and it's done weekly. Then, so kids can go into this basically this menu of opportunity and pick stuff on the iPad or on the phone that they want to complete. And as soon as they complete it and it's approved, they get paid. So we're giving a lot of opportunities for them to not just play games, but in real life, they can complete things that they'll get paid for. So we're excited. GravyStack.com, you can actually sign up and get on the wait list to be part of the beta group. But I think we've got a couple thousand there already.
That's amazing, man. I'm excited for you. I think that's going to be a huge thing because anything that empowers kids at an early age to like have that growth mindset, that ability to say, okay, this is awesome. If I need something, if I want something, I can go out and get it. That's an amazing feeling to have. And it'll trickle down the road when they're adults and they're like, okay, cool. Like I've been here before as a kid, and I know as an adult I can do the same thing.
The goal is to impact millions of kids. In fact, I think I can say this, but the company that owns Paw Patrol, famous kids show, they just invested $2 million with us last month. And they get 40 million kids a month on their website. And they're so excited about the mission of what we're doing that they want to open it up to all of their audience and customers and families to essentially become Gravy Stack families. So we've got anytime we share the story, like the mission of empowering kids and making them financially independent, it catches fire. Yeah,
because it's super important, and, especially because the rising generation, like they're the ones that are going to be our leaders, right? So we want to empower them as much as possible. Now I want to talk a little bit more now about your third book that's coming out next month, Beyond the Money.
Sure.
And you were talking to me a little bit about this, but it's a very specific audience. It's for those that have already made the millions, but now are still feeling stuck as to what to do with their money, right?
Yeah, you think they'd have it all figured out once they have lots of money, but it doesn't happen like that. I think we just had two new clients out of state, not in California, but they sold their businesses for 40 to 60 million each, totally independent of each other. But if I were to ask the question, like, how do they feel differently now that the money has landed in their accounts? They don't feel different at all. Like there's no change. They're still them. They're still waking up in the morning and wondering, like, what do I do today? And I think it's more about, this book is really about how to really optimize your life, increase your freedom, and what you can really do to make an impact now that you've made a significant amount of money. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the kind of the insights and ideas that are shared in this book.
Do you feel a lot of times with people that have made their money, some of them lose it as well, like quickly, or maybe it's just because their mindset has not shifted to that of like the growth, like paying it forward and helping other people out. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, in some cases, it is very true. I think if your mindset isn't right, you won't keep the money. So I think the statistic is like the Fortune 500 or Fortune 400 families that have the most wealth, that list changes very frequently because people are dropping off that list. If you have a scarcity mindset, you can still make a lot of money, but you won't keep it because you believe you don't deserve it.
Sure.
Or you just don't have that abundance mindset. So you're going to be hoarding it or spending it or blowing it or investing in bad ideas. I remember we had 2006, when I was back at Merrill Lynch, I had two clients, partners, sold their business for over 100 million. One of these partners was very steady and patient, made really wise investment decisions. He's still a great client today. The other partner got so caught up in the get rich quick stuff, even though he was already wealthy, he was getting excited and putting lots of money into extremely risky ventures. Every time someone presented something to him, he didn't listen to the counsel and advice around him. He just went full force into it. He's got no money. It's all gone. And there's no reason that those two guys should have such a different net worth today.
Yeah.
But it's really their mindset and their attitude towards what do I do once I get the money?
Yeah.
That made them go into such different paths, completely different situations now, 16 years later.
Let me ask you something. This is something I've often wondered about. There have been those that I've talked to that their sole purpose is like, I need to make money. I need to make a lot of money. I don't want to make money and all this stuff. And they're so money driven. And then there's other people that are more focused on excellence, at providing the world with excellence or something. Do you feel like just those two mindsets alone can change the outcome of their lives? Because I often feel like those that are like focused so hardcore on making the money and all that stuff. I don't know. Like I got a buddy of mine that's made quite a bit of money through construction and all that stuff. And I was talking to him like not that long ago, but I was just asking how things were going, and he just didn't seem that happy.
Yeah.
He said like he just felt bored in life.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, there's gotta be something about that,
So two things. Number one, you have to have a purpose behind everything. So if someone comes to my office and says, and we say, what are your most important goals? Like what matters to you? And they say, well, I have X in my accounts and I want to have X times 5. Okay, why though? Like what's the purpose? You need to tell us, I want this so that I can do something, or what's the meaning behind it? So if your sole focus is money, then you're chasing a mirage of happiness that you'll never find.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen that. People who are just obsessed with the dollar amounts or the numbers or the returns, like that's very empty. It's very surface focused. But if you have purpose and meaning behind it, I don't think there's any limits to what you can achieve. And that's the exciting part. If you have a purpose, something that drives you, you want to make an impact. You can do amazing things. And our clients, some of them have really boring businesses, but some of them have really exciting impact-based businesses. And either way, they're not doing it just for the money. And I think that's the cool part.
Yeah.
The second part I would say is you're going to, no matter how much money you make, like you are who you are. And so I don't think having lots of money makes you a bad person.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you greedy, doesn't make you a certain way. I think money is a magnifier. And so the more you have, the more your traits are magnified. So if you're a selfish, arrogant jerk who doesn't help anyone and is all about yourself, and you have $50 million, then it's just going to be very obvious that that's who you are. You're going to be even more so, right? But if you're generous and you're kind and you're giving and you're charitable, then you're going to do amazing stuff because that's who you are. So money really just magnifies what's inside you.
That's a great way of of putting it, man. I mean, it's interesting. I have this, so I have a really good buddy of mine, and he's a writer. He moved to LA to write movies and things like that, right? And this guy, honestly, I would say is like a true brother, man. Like he's such a good guy. He's so kind to everyone. He belongs to the same faith that we belong to. Just wanting to just do good, right? And he has a writing partner, and so they wanted to just create, and they were like, I don't know, like living kind of poorly at first, and like everyone's story, they were writing scripts, and then they got it into their hands of the right producers, and those right producers were like, okay, well, we don't want to make this movie, but we want to introduce you to some people so you can like write scripts for them. Well, lo and behold, their journey has taken them from writing scripts on spec to working with J.J. Abrams, who's like a big filmmaker, and now he is the showrunner creator of the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon.
No way.
So it's huge, right? It's huge.
That's
and
awesome.
I actually just barely got back from India because he invited me to go with him to the India premiere for Lord of the Rings.
How cool.
And it was amazing, right?
Wow.
But the cool thing was, and I pulled him aside and I'm like, dude, I just love that you still are who you are. Like this success has not changed you in the slightest. In fact, it's made you more giving, I feel, and more kind and more willing to like go help other people out and empower other people instead of like being like, now that I'm, so-and-so, and it was a really, really cool thing for me to see because, we're still like brothers, like nothing has changed on that front, right? So I often think like, it's like before you seek out to make all the money in the world and all that stuff, like examine who you are as a person, and see where you can be, and that way you can kind of empower other people.
Dr. Benjamin Hardy, a friend and client of mine, who's a great author. Anything Dr. Benjamin Hardy has written is gold. But he often says you have to 10x yourself personally before you can 10x anything around you. Mm-hmm. So he talks about becoming a much better version of yourself before you grow your business or grow your wealth or grow your audience or grow your followers or your impact or anything like that. He's like, first, grow and go 10x internally and then grow 10x externally. That's how it should be.
I love that. Dude, let's expand on that for like a second. What does that mean? What does that look like for you?
So it's really about like, I can 10x my business and I can 10x my audience. I can 10x my book sales and 10x all those other things. But if it's not going to be genuine or impactful or meaningful if I haven't become a better version of myself first, right? So if you're still thinking with your current mindset and you haven't sorted out, like you said about your brother, all the things in his life that was holding him back and keeping him stuck in his current place, then there's no way that growth is going to be sustainable. There's no way that it's actually going to make the impact that it potentially could make if you really had become the best version of yourself first.
Yeah.
So that goes back to what you said about your friend producing his movies. Like he has become a great person along the journey, and therefore the success just flows with it. And it's natural and it hasn't changed really how he treats other people. Mm-hmm. And so if someone becomes very successful financially, and it changes how they treat people, then they haven't really become a better person inside first.
Yeah.
So they just 10x'd on the outside, but not on the inside.
That's a great way of putting it. And I mean, it's interesting, right? Like just knowing my buddy's family and even my brother and everything, like just seeing the challenges and things and how they've overcome it for themselves on the inside, I feel has put them in the position for them to explode, right?
Totally.
For them to be like, okay, you're now ready for the success that, God has for you or whatnot.
Right.
So I want to kind of shift topics again. Now, we talked about this before. The last time we talked about the lemonade stand stories, we always talk about like things that bring lemons into your life. And last time we discussed this, you were talking about how all your games and everything had been shut down because of COVID.
Right.
From then to now, has there been any moments in your life when you're like, well, that was a blow. I'm going to figure out how to like wrap myself around this one, but this is a tricky situation.
It's a good question. I think that it's a never ending. I feel like lemons are getting, as a business owner in California, lemons are just getting thrown at me all the time.
Yes,
I don't think there's never a time where there aren't lemons coming at me. Economically, I feel like a lot of us have really been impacted by inflation, interest rates, economic slowdown, recession, cost of doing business, especially in California, taxes have increased. So I think there are a lot of things that have been thrown at entrepreneurs in the last year that have been challenging. And so it's just up to us to make those adjustments and really see how we, for us especially, since we're guiding entrepreneurs, those are our clients, is really helping each of them individually navigate through the new landscape that they're facing.
Yeah.
Dealing with changes when you have a workforce there are a lot of people changing industries, changing jobs, there's layoffs happening. The cost of doing business and borrowing money has more than doubled in the last 6 months. So when it comes to interest rates and loans and things like that. So I think there are a lot of factors outside of our control, which makes it more important to really focus on what we can influence directly. And for us, that's the outreach to our clients, the guidance we're giving, the mindset, the work ethic, and the culture and attitude within our team at Pacific Capital. Like that to me is extremely important, and having a real close pulse on how we're doing is something I've got to figure out and keep navigating daily for sure.
Well, it's interesting because California, well, everywhere, but California specifically, I feel is like the changing landscape all the time, right? And so there's no such thing as like just doing the same thing the same way and like expecting the same results when the landscape itself is changing, when the rules of the game are changing all the time. You have to always be, present and like be mindful of what's going on and how to adapt during those situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, okay. So I have a few more questions for you, Chad. We've talked about this before, but what brings you the greatest sense of joy right now?
The greatest sense of joy, I love, what I get excited about is really seeing people increase their vision of their own future, increase their freedom, both their financial freedom and their lifestyle freedom, and just increase their capabilities. Like that gets me fired up. Whether it's young people through Smart Not Spoiled, through Gravy Stack, through other volunteer things I'm doing, or whether it's just entrepreneurs and families we're working with. I love seeing people advance to the next levels of their own life. And to me, that's just, that gives me a lot of energy.
That's amazing, man. I love that, because in your answer for joy, none of it was revolving around you. It was like about helping other people have a better life, a better vision for themselves, which I think is amazing. Okay, 2 more questions. What terrifies you right now?
I think that what terrifies me right now is something that is always in the back of my mind, which is the potential for regret or complacency. And I think that's a challenge that everyone who's successful faces is, the idea that we could potentially become more and we don't. I've heard that definition of major regret is seeing the person you could have been and comparing it to who you became. And I think that's something that just constantly, I feel like there's a little bird on my shoulder saying, you got to keep going and you got to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And not get financially comfortable. And so that's why I'm constantly looking for new avenues and producing more content and writing more books and doing things to make a bigger impact, because I don't want to sit still.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it all, right? Is to constantly keep growing, to constantly keep expanding, to constantly keep finding new ways to make life better. Because we are beings of growth and change and evolve, like ever evolving beings, right? So if we ever get complete, I think it's fine to like take breaks and take a rest. That's totally fine. But if you just stop progressing, you can feel it. You can feel it in your bones. You're like, oh my gosh, like something is going on. I gotta do more, So you
gotta stir it up. If you're not growing and making progress, it's like, what am I doing?
Exactly. Okay, the last thing I was going to ask you is, even now, because I asked this question last time, so I want to change it a little bit more. If you could have a time machine and go back in time just to the early days of COVID, okay, what would you tell that Chad?
That's a good question. When I look back at it, I'm extremely happy with how we responded and made changes at that time. In my family, I withdrew my kids from school and we started homeschooling. I think that turned out we have a great outcome right now with 3 of our kids that are not in the school system. And it was because of COVID that we made that adjustment. Business wise, I don't know. I don't know that I would have done anything different, to be honest. I just, we really tried to be outspoken leaders in a time where our industry was kind of hiding. A lot of people and a lot of our peers were under the table, curled up in a ball, because when the markets take a 40% hit in 1 month and
It's
there's
heavy.
crazy,
Yes.
yeah, it's heavy. There's extreme fear. There's just pessimism. It's like, oh, things are never coming back. It's never going to be the same. And it might not be the same, but we have that long-term perspective that growth and innovation is going to continue. And so we counseled our clients not to give in to the fear, but to be proactive in their own business and in their investment strategies, to really look at this from a broader perspective, that this is not going to last forever.
Yeah.
There's going to be a different major crisis and challenge every year or every few years, and we just have to get used to that. And so I feel like the way we handled it was great. I know it wasn't perfect. Maybe that's not the best answer, but
Well, here's the thing. The problem is you do the best with the information you're given at the time, right? You can always look back in hindsight and be like, well, I wish this would have happened or that would have happened. You just didn't know, right?
Yeah.
There was this great scene. Did you ever see the movie Sully?
I have. I don't think so. I don't think I've seen it. I've heard of it though.
Yeah, it's great, and the whole thing is about Captain Sully, who landed the airplane.
Oh yeah.
Hudson, right?
Yep. Yes. That was awesome.
Great movie, and they're at the very end. They're on trial, right? And it was like Tom Hanks' character and Aaron Eckhart's character are on trial because they're like, well, you could have landed on the runway. You could have turned back around had this have happened and all this stuff. And then he's like, hey, can we finally get serious now? He's like, you're not even talking about human error. You're not even giving time for that. It's like when the birds hit, like we had to do all these tests first to like see what it was. And then we were able to respond. It wasn't like this incredibly perfect foresight of like, this is exactly what you're supposed to do at this exact time. Life gets kind of messy, right?
Totally.
So, but I appreciate you, coming on and like talking about all these beautiful things, especially because, and I said this earlier, like our kids literally are going to be the leaders. They're going to be the rising generation, and to be able to empower them in such a way right now at this young age is so crucial. So
I think impacting their mindset has a greater significance than anything we can teach them. I think teaching them the right mindset, the capability of how to build skills, is perhaps more important than the skill building. Like the thought and belief that I can learn something new, I can be successful, I can do this. Is that attitude and that mindset is more important than anything that we could teach them that's memorizing and repeating back things.
Yeah, it's true. It's true because I remember as a kid, I learned how to cram well. I got great grades, but if you were to ask me like how to do certain things, I'm like, I have no idea, no clue. I've forgotten.
I learned it for that test.
Yeah, I learned it for that test, and I was a really good teacher's pet. That's what I learned. But I did not learn like certain growth mindsets that are like super valuable. So I think it's great what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. So the audiences of this podcast, what can they do immediately to take action? They can sign up for the waiting list for Brady Staff, hoping that's going to come out end of the year, hopefully, or maybe next year. And so they can be part of the beta test. And also they could probably invest and purchase Smart Not Spoiled if they want to help their kids out with financial decisions, helping them have that mindset. And if you've already made money, then your next book, Beyond the Money, is a great way to help them think forward and how to
absolutely
do things with that, right?
Yep,
Awesome.
perfect. Well said.
Hey,
I'm active daily on LinkedIn, so
Awesome.
if you want to see any of the things that I'm sharing on there, a lot of personal, but a lot of insightful business and family stuff. So
Perfect. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. Again, great seeing you. I'm so glad you've grown that beard. Keep rocking it. That's amazing.
I will.
Just
get started.
I actually had one not that long ago. I shaved it because it was too itchy. It's too itchy. So awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. We'll chat soon, okay?
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yep, for sure. Take care. Okay.
Thanks so much for listening to the Lemonade Stand podcast, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you use to be alerted when we release new episodes. We'd also love to hear your feedback in the reviews, and if you or someone you know has an awesome Lemonade Stand story, please reach out to us on social media and let us know. Thanks so much, and have a great day.